Good evening. In a moment, we'll have some news on the potential for peace in Iran. But first, for another day, President Trump and Pope Leo trade comments over the legitimacy of that war in the first place. The Pope, speaking in Cameroon on his tour of Africa, said the world is being ravaged by a handful of tyrants. And then a few hours later, on the lawn of the White House, the president responded, saying this is the real world and the Pope needs to understand that. We begin our coverage tonight with Caitlin Huey-Burns, who is with the president in Las Vegas this evening. Caitlin, good evening.
Good evening to you, Tony. Well, the president is trying to shift gears tonight, hitting the road to tout his economic policies ahead of the midterms as voters are feeling the pinch at the pump. As President Trump headed to Las Vegas today to try and change the subject from war to the economy, he downplayed rising gas prices.
They're not very high if you look at what they were supposed to be in order to get rid of a nuclear weapon with the danger that entails.
Gas prices have risen more than $1 since the war started nearly 7 weeks ago. And as Americans file their taxes this week, the president is touting the gains from his tax policies. But rising gas and food prices threaten to wipe out those savings.
We save a little bit of money on taxes, but we're paying so much more for groceries and for gas.
It seems to take a long time, for the prices to come back down to even where they were at before this.
It comes as the president is facing heightened political pressure to end the war, along with criticisms from the Pope, who today denounced what he called the masters of war.
The world is being ravaged by a handful of tyrants.
Trump said today he has a right to disagree with the Pope.
But the Pope has to understand Iran, very simple, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
The Pope also called out those who use religion to justify war. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has cited biblical references several times during the conflict.
But woe to those who manipulate religion in the very name of God for their own military, economic, or political gain.
Today, Hegseth invoked the Bible to compare the press to Pharisees, often portrayed as enemies of Jesus.
The legacy Trump-hating press. Your politically motivated animus for President Trump nearly completely blinds you from the brilliance of our American warriors. The Pharisees scrutinized every good act in order to find a violation.
And we learned tonight that police were called to investigate a bomb threat at the home of Pope Leo's brother in suburban Chicago. The threat was determined to be unsubstantiated, but they are continuing to investigate. Tony.
Caitlin Huey-Burns for us from Las Vegas. Caitlin, thank you very much.